The Demoman's a top tier, with the potential for the highest damage in the game, thanks to his combination of sticky bombs and grenades. He's a well-rounded area denial class, and is home to TF2's official subclass, the Demo Knight. And that's what we'll be focusing on today. How well does the Demo Knight do in medieval mode? More specifically, how good are his weapons? The ranking criteria is going to be the same as always. It's the synergy he has with the other weapons, the synergy with the team, and how well they do in a 1v1. Random crits will be taken into account since this is medieval mode. Will the Demoman be knighted, or will he be a peasant? Let's go. The first weapon on the list, the base jumper, is a shared weapon between the demo and the soldier. When you press jump in the air, you deploy a parachute to slow your descent. Again, like I said in the soldier video, its main function in medieval is to avoid fall damage. But the demo has another niche with this parachute. He can mix up his landings. After the demo trims off of the rock near blue spawn, the demo could reach the castle battlements. Typically, there's some enemies waiting for you there to land, but if you use your parachute, you can either change course or you can mix up your landing to throw the enemy's melee swings off. Plus, this weapon fills out the demo's primary slot, so you could still use a shield and not lose too much. But either way, it's a niche weapon and your primary is better suited for something else. For the first weapon in C tier, the Ullpool Caber is a literal boomstick. You hit an enemy with it, and you cause an explosion, damaging both you and whoever's in the radius. The Caber has a base damage of 55, and the explosion could deal upwards of 83 damage. When combined with a shield that could crit, so not the Tide Turner, the Caber could potentially one-shot every class in the game. The Caber has potential to one-shot groups as well, since people tend to group up a lot considering everyone's stuck to their melees. The Caber's downside of a slower deploy penalty is non-existent, but the only downside is actually the upside, which is the explosion. If you're at low health, you'll most likely take yourself out and not anyone else, but even if you do live, you have a slower swing speed with no random crits, you deal less damage than stock, and you're out minus 52 or 56 health. If you want your explosion back, you're gonna have to walk all the way back to the resupply cabinet to get a fresh Caber. It's fine if you're on blue team, but you only have the one chance to use it on red because red's resupply is stuck behind the castle. This weapon's okay. It's definitely more viable in this game type compared to the base game. The C in Caber isn't for Cookie, it's for C tier. Another one of the weapons shared between the Demoman and the soldier, the Pain Train makes its last stop in B tier. Someone brought up a good point in the comments of my soldier video, that the 10% bullet vulnerability doesn't cross any damage thresholds, and that there's only two sources of bullet damage. But still, a downside's still a downside. It's not as bad as it is on paper. But nonetheless, this weapon's still only useful on offense, and is just a very slightly worse version than stock on defense. Just like the previous two stock items, Demo's Bottle deals 65 base damage and 195 on crits. It's in B tier considering all of his melees are good in this game type, but there's still a few that fill that slot better. The Crayon Moor is the first of Demo's swords, slashing its way to A tier. The Klondike Moor gives the player a 0.5 second increase in charge duration, and kills with the item restore 25% of the Demo's charge meter. The downsides of the Clamshell Moor is a 15% damage vulnerability and no random crits. This is the weakest sword in terms of upsides, but still an A tier option nonetheless. The extra duration and charge the Christopher Moor gives you is great for picking enemies at a distance, basically becoming the bullet of a sniper since you can travel farther to pick targets. The extra charge granted on kill is nice too, as a way to quickly make your escape from possible enemies if things look dire. But the damage vulnerability makes the demo slightly more squishy, not enough for it to matter. Either way, the Cast Iron Moor is the first sword on the list, and one that's an A tier. The Charge and Targe is the worst of Demo's shields, but still deserves at least an A tier placement simply because it's a shield. It gives the demo the best resistances out of any shield, with a 50% fire resistance and a 30% explosive resistance. It's kinda dumb that the wooden shield gives better fire resistance. Anyways, it also gives the demo the ability to charge, where he lunges forward quickly in a straight line. It makes him move faster than the scout, it deals impact damage with the shield bash, and it lets him crit with his melee towards the end of his charge. The resistances never come up at all. The only times are if the demo is struck by a burning arrow, the volcano fragment, or if he gets caught in a caber explosion. Plus, he has to wait 12 seconds to use his charge if he doesn't have any swords that grant him meter. One final note that's crucial to all of the shields is that whenever the demo uses his charge, it removes any debuff that he has, whether it be fire, bleed, or milk. All of the demo's shields allow him to quickly close the gap or make a safe escape. His mobility is the best in this game type, so this leaves the charge and targe at a minimum of A tier, simply due to the mobility he gets. The Persian Persuader is the choice for Demo Knight if you want to be slippery and have a hit and run sort of playstyle. The Persuader grants the demo 20% of his charge meter back if he lands any hit on an enemy. It gives charge on ammo pickup. All of this in exchange for less ammo in your grenade and sticky bomb launcher. Of course with no random crits. There are no downsides to using this weapon, considering you can't even use any of Demo's launchers in Medieval, so the only thing to consider is the lack of random crits. Even still, the sword lets the demo charge around the map freely, allowing him to spend his charge meter with little risk as long as he could hit his enemies. This is the first weapon of S tier since it grants the demo the best mobility in the entire game type. The Scotsman Skull Cutter is a very simple weapon. It has a longer melee range, a 20% damage bonus, but it comes at the expense of a minus 15% slower move speed. It has a base damage of 78, and on crits, it deals 234. This weapon crits all the time, plus it has the benefits of a sword with a longer range. I have no idea why this is the only sword weapon that doesn't have a crit penalty. But the movement speed penalty hurts, and you're forced to equip Demo's only viable primary in this mode, but I'll go over that later. This battle axe is deserving of S tier. It's very frustrating to fight against, considering every time I die to it, it's because of a random crit. The Tide Turner and the Splendid Screen are both very close in terms of placement. It was very difficult to pick one over the other, but I decided to go with the Tide Turner first. The Tide Turner is the shield that you want to use if you want more movement. This shield grants the user 15% resistance to fire and explosives, but the important upsides are that the demo has complete control of his turning while charging, unlike any other shield where the demo could only run in a straight line. Plus, every kill gives the demo 75% of his charge meter back. The drawback of the steering wheel is if the demo takes damage while charging, he gets less time remaining in his charge. This only happens if a stray arrow or crossbow bolt tags you, so it's not too often when this downside comes up. But another downside is that the shield only allows the demo to deal mini crits at the end of his charge, not full crits. So overall, you'll deal less damage, but you'll be able to maneuver yourself a lot more. Use the Tide Turner if you want to get more movement, but don't mind the less damage.
Bruh.
This is the final shield of the list. The Splendid Screen offers the demo extra damage in his charge. He gets a 70% increase in impact damage, meaning that he deals 85 damage if he rams himself into an enemy. Plus, the demo has a faster wait time for charging, with 8 seconds of downtime compared to the usual 12 seconds. Of course, he also gets the resistances that a shield gives him, which are 20% resistances to fire and explosions, but that's not important. It's his other upsides that make the shield the best one in my opinion. It deals critical hits for melees at the end of his charge, it deals hefty amounts of impact damage, and it charges quickly. This shield lets the Demo Knight deal scary amounts of damage consistently, and it allows him to escape as any other shield would. The Splendid Scream gets an easy S tier placement as the best shield for the entire game type. Just like the Soldier, the Habzatuichi is an S tier katana. Its stats are that it has a longer melee range, it heals the demo 50% of his base health, allowing him to overheal if he's at full health, and it can one-shot any other enemy using the same weapon. The downsides to the weapon is that you could also get one-shot, and that you get minus 50 health for switching weapons. The demo has no way of swapping weapons, so the only risk that you take is the potential to lose fights instantly, simply because you held the weapon out. The katana allows for incredible sustainability in fights, allowing you to possibly take on an entire team if you play your cards right. But it's not the best considering that there's still one more melee left. It's super close though.
What are those?
The booties are Demo's go-to primary in this mode. He gets plus 25 max health, more charging control, and 10% faster movement. Plus 25% of his meter gets refilled on melee kills. The demo loses nothing for equipping this, so it automatically places him in the same health range as the soldier with a bit faster movement. These boots are a must-have, not because of style, but for stats. If we're going for style points here, this would be an easy F tier. For the final weapon, and the best weapon for Demo Knight, the Eyelander. The Eyeliner lets the demo have longer melee range, but he loses minus 25 max health and he can't random crit. But the stats on the in-game description don't do it justice. In spite of only the red and white text, the Eyelander's upsides are game-changing. For every kill that he gets with it, he gets plus 15 health added to his max health, plus he heals 15 health. This means if a demo starts at 150 health, a kill that he gets with it lets him have 175 max health, and so on. He could get a maximum of 210 health, which is actually kinda crazy because he could tank quite a bit of damage. Furthermore, every kill he gets grants him more movement speed and a shield bash increase. His top speed lets him run faster than the scout, and for every head he collects, it's an increase of 10% to the shield's base impact damage. Another stat this weapon grants is the ability to steal an enemy's heads. If an enemy demo has 5 heads with his Eyelander and you kill him, the demo you killed plus the 5 heads get added to your counter, so you get plus 6 heads. With all the stats out of the way, the basics of the Eyelander mean that it's a snowball weapon. You start out a bit lower in health compared to enemy demos not using the Eyelander, but the more kills you get, the more unstoppable you become. This is the go-to weapon for any Demo Knight. It's brimming with potential to stomp an entire team single-handedly. This is the Demo Knight's best weapon in medieval mode. Here's the Demoman's medieval mode tier list. This list was the hardest one to make thus far, as the Demo Knight thrives in this game type specifically geared towards him. All of his weapons are amazing, with the exception of the base jumper, but even then, this weapon has a bit more utility than other classes' main weapons. The Demo Knight is very common to find in medieval mode because of this. He's fun, he's good, he's the Demo Knight. He's the best class in medieval mode, no question about it. That's all that I have for this video. This one's a little bit more difficult than the other ones because I'm not too experienced using the Demo Knight, plus his weapons are all really good, so it was a little bit difficult trying to rank them in order. But yeah, I'll be ranking the heavies weapons up next. See ya.